This video is brought to you by Breathe Agile, helping you and your team go agile. Hello, welcome to Agile Micorlearning Series from Breathe Agile. This is Ashwin Chandrasekharan. Today's topic is Nexus Scrum. So what are we going to talk about today? First, we will see what is Nexus Scrum, and followed by that, we will see what is the problem that it's trying to solve. First, what is Nexus Scrum? This is my definition. It's a framework to orchestrate and integrate deliveries from multiple Scrum teams working on the same product. In an enterprise working on a big project or a major product development, there are usually multiple Scrum teams. The main problem in this scenario is organizing or orchestrating the way in which the teams work together, and also in integrating the deliveries from those teams. Nexus Scrum attempts to solve this problem. So, Nexus Scrum brings in some new roles, new ceremonies or meetings, and new artifacts. The first one is a product owner. This is not a new role, but an elevated role with a responsibility to maintain the master product backlog. This backlog serves as an input to multiple sprint backlogs. The second role is Scrum Master. Again, this is an elevated role and the responsibility is to coordinate and guide multiple teams. And finally, the integration team members. These are special developers and testers who are responsible to facilitate the integration of deliveries from multiple teams. As time permits, they may also be part of a single Scrum development team. Together, these three roles constitute a Nexus integration team. Here are the ceremonies or meetings that are specific to Nexus Scrum. First, as Nexus Sprint Planning, a master planning effort that creates a refined and prioritized backlog for the sprint. This backlog serves as a source for individual sprint backlogs. The second one is Nexus Daily Scrum. It's a daily stand-up meeting between the Nexus integration team and the Scrum team representatives to review progress and impediments. The third one is Nexus Sprint Review, a master review activity to validate the integrated increment from multiple teams. And finally, the Nexus Sprint Retrospective, looking back at the Nexus Sprint and identifying areas of improvement. All these ceremonies are chaired by the Nexus integration team and attended by the Scrum team representatives as needed. And finally, coming to the Nexus Scrum artifacts, the first one is Nexus Goals. These are goals targeted for the Nexus Sprint, so it's a collection of goals from the individual Scrum teams. The Nexus Sprint Backlog is a master backlog of everything expected out of the current Nexus Sprint. And then the final one is the integrated increment, the integrated and tested deliveries from all participating Scrum teams. Let's look at the Nexus Scrum workflow. It starts with the Nexus integration team, which consists of the product owner, Scrum Master, and the Nexus integration team members. They refine the master backlog, the master product backlog, which will be used by all the teams. So this is done in a Nexus Sprint Planning meeting. So in this meeting, the representatives from individual Scrum teams attend along with the Nexus integration team, and they come up with Nexus Sprint backlogs. So there will be one sprint backlog per Scrum team participating in the Nexus Scrum. So you will have multiple sprint backlogs at the end of this exercise. Then each Scrum team representative takes this sprint backlog to their respective teams and they follow the traditional Scrum cycle. They have their own planning meetings, their daily stand-ups and so on. So that follows the traditional Scrum methodology. Then comes the Nexus Daily Scrum. So once the Nexus Sprint starts, the Nexus Daily Scrum is attended by the integration team and the Scrum team representatives. They talk about the progress of the individual teams. And then comes the continuous integration phase. So as and when the deliveries are ready from each of the participating Scrum teams, they are delivered into a common platform. So the continuous integration is performed, and this process or the maintenance of this system is controlled by the Nexus integration team, specifically the Nexus integration team members. And at the end of the Nexus Sprint, the sprint review is held again with the integration team and the Scrum team representatives. They review the sprint, make sure that whatever is committed at the start of the Nexus Sprint is achieved. And then followed by that will be the Nexus Sprint Retrospective. They'll look back at the sprint and see what could be improved in the subsequent sprints. As an outcome of the Nexus sprint review exercise, the integrated increment, that is the developed and tested piece, which is an integration of all the deliveries from individual Scrum teams, goes out of the Nexus sprint or the Nexus Scrum teams. So what problems it tries to solve? The first benefit of Nexus Scrum is the coordinated delivery. So it makes sure that there is a system which is making sure that the participating Scrum teams' delivery are coordinated on a single scale. The second one is cross-team collaboration. The collaboration can improve between the dependent teams who are otherwise isolated or independent. Centralized integration. This framework nicely decouples the micro integration efforts to the macro integration. Integration team that is part of the Nexus integration team is competent enough to deliver software that works flawlessly. And finally, universal prioritization. Having a single backlog for multiple teams, make sure that everyone uses uniform prioritization for the development. This can prevent a lot of hassles later. It comes with some potential problems though. Here are some of them. The first one is increased administration. One of the complaints from lean software proponents is the level of administrative work with Scrum. With this new framework, this administration increases further. Varied project culture. A beauty of Agile is the ability to tailor individual team needs. Though Scrum doesn't encourage a lot of tailoring, this framework will further minimize this possibility. Every team is inherently forced to follow the standards. Coordination troubles. Though one purpose is to minimize coordination troubles, with increased administration and integration points, the framework could introduce a few more. Splitting of Nexus sprint backlog. This is easier said than done. Unless the teams are highly generalized and stories are absolutely independent, splitting can soon turn into a nightmare. Integration struggles. The framework heavily relies on the efficiency of the integration team. It is very much possible that the frequent integration could easily go out of control. Our final thoughts. So the concept looks very good on paper. It is an excellent first step towards the organizational agility or macro agility as we choose to call it. But it has a lot of scope for improvement and it needs to be closely watched for further developments in this area. So thank you for listening to this presentation. This was brought to you by Breathe Agile. You can visit our website www.breatheagile.net for more tips on Agile software development. We are also on Twitter at Breathe Agile. Thank you and have a great day. Visit www.breatheagile.net for more Agile resources. Thank you.